Hey y'all, it's Shay speaking again, and I'm here with another installation of this so-called rant kind of video that I got going on here. Um, I'm piggybacking off of this video here. It's called the 2020 Census: Black Americans versus Black Immigrants, and it's by Black Patriarch. When I'm doing these piggybacks, I just have to give a small disclaimer that I don't agree with every single thing that the person is saying in this video. A lot of times I have a way different outlook on it. It's just something that grabs my attention. It helps me connect with something and then be able to share another way of looking at it. So don't ever just take anything that I say. A lot of times I'm somebody that make up my own words sometimes. I'm sorry. That's just a part of me. I've always done it, you know, around the house and stuff like that. So you guys, I hope I can be just keep it real with you guys. But most of the time, people can figure out what I'm trying to say when I even do that, or around my friends and stuff. Even though I keep a small group of associates and friends and family, um, they still can figure out kind of what I'm trying to say when I say these things. So, anyways, it's not about that. It's about getting people to connect with this different level of thinking that I think that a lot of us are running away from in fear of going deep within, um, and altering things in our life so that we can create the future that we want for ourselves and our children. Because it's dire times. I cannot tell you 100% what is to come, but there's a lot of stuff that I noticed that in the indigenous community, the religious, okay, spiritual um community, and the true third movement, the awakening, the whatever it is that's going on. A lot of us are not paying attention to, you know, um some of the stuff that's going on around that should probably really scare the hell out of you as far as what's to come to America in the next couple of years. Now, I think that when the Bible says things about like there's going to be calamities and all these other things, but for a certain people, because we got to get that through our head. We've been taught through Christianity and religion and church that this God is for everybody, and everybody is the chosen, and everybody Christ came to speak to. When clearly Christ, that the entity that we're speaking of, when we're speaking of one of the Christ entities from the book, is saying that he has come only for us particular people to give them the laws, statutes, and commandments. So again, this is just the way that I see things. You may not see things this way, but we have to learn to still communicate and share information on a respectful platform, in a respectful way on certain platforms, for us to even start to understand what this movement is and what's going on. So, like I was saying, when it says for some people not to be dismayed or not to be afraid of these things, that maybe that's talking to a particular group of people. So maybe this is why we're not, maybe it's speaking to us, and maybe this is why we're not really bothered by all the stuff that's coming, that, more Caucasian channels are, I said, hey, they're woke, they're looking at things in a certain way, they're bringing truth, but that's their purpose and their portion that they're supposed to be doing at this moment in time, I think, and making other people aware of the other things that are going on with the weather and with all these other things, with the law, with governing and all this other stuff. There's a lot of stations and channels that I actually listen to, and look at, that really have some really good information. But that stuff, at first, I believe it started to like scare me, but then there was something that told me there's nothing for you to be afraid of. And if there is something coming, it's not coming for you unless they bring something that is false forward, and we think that that's for us, and we take the bait, and then we end up getting in trouble because we're not stopping, being still, going within, and pulling out that Christos, or that Christ from within. Okay. So with that being said, this 2020 census is coming up, and this whole channel is about, I know there's a lot of different platforms going, the Moors and all this other stuff, but like what I was trying to tell you guys a second ago, we just need to center ourselves and focus, because you'll hear the voice that's trying to tell you what you need to do, what your cause is, what your calling is, and what work you're supposed to be doing for this whole thing that's about to occur. Again, you cannot sit there and think that there's going to be a Christ figure that's going to come climbing out of the clouds to save somebody. I can't tell you what to do, but I'm just telling you to help somebody that's not helping themselves. So whether this is something that has been a structured thing that's going on with us, or something that is like a cognitive dissidence type of thing that's going on with us, or some type of something was cast on us in these systems, since we go in with these systems that are actually made for other people, we're not prospering, or we're not actually even maybe reaching the proper so-called God or creator or source that we are connected to. They've come in and they've given us these things and told us about this being, but in this case, we're worshiping the wrong God or gods or whatever may be. So that's just, I just want to bring that to your attention, because a lot of us are afraid to step up out of that. We're afraid to question God, which is the silliest thing that I've ever heard anybody say. When it comes to Christianity, I just could never understand it, and I never wanted to speak forward about it, because I think everybody know, if you come from a so-called African American or Black family, that it would be hard for you to say anything against, even so, not even it's not even to the point where the slave master is beating the way he wants you to view the Bible and read the Bible into your head. Now he's left you with your family members that are heavily religious, because it was beaten and they were beaten and tortured and force fed to look at the word the way that the master told them to do it. And then that fear and all that other stuff has led down to your grandma. And then, and these people are still beautiful people. If I could be 10% of the woman that my grandmother was, and that my grandmother is, that's still living, then you know what I'm saying? So I'm not putting them down, but I'm saying they were beautiful people and good people. Why weren't they able to prosper? Why weren't they able to get something more out of life? Why were they put down? And I'm saying, because I think that the Christian church is there to deceive us. And I think that Christ crucified, just like the word says, before any man tells you, what does the word say? And the word says that Christ was sent to the Jews as a stumbling block. And so, if, like I said in the other video, I don't have the exact scripture here, and I don't have time to go backtrack and do that. Google can be your best friend. Google what I just said, and you will find in the Bible that I'm not lying, that it says the same thing that I just told you. There's a lot of things that it says about Christ, and you think that we're supposed to be worshiping him or that he is God, that tells that he is not, out of his own mouth. But you have to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment, and understanding. You have to be connected to the Ruach, the Great Spirit, or the Holy Spirit. You have to have been called. You have to let go and shed so many things. You have to kind of go through a drought. It is a sad, lonely place. But after you come out of it, you feel like a butterfly. You feel stronger and better than anything. And the thing is, if somebody want to say that I'm misled because I'm doing all this and that, and this sound like something else, that's fine. You stay in that mindset, because those are the people that are going to be misled. The ones that take the wide road, or the gate that is wide, is the ones that is going to be misled. The ones that take the narrow, regardless of what your religion tells you, would be the right way. Because in this day and age, everybody wants to be like everybody. Everyone wants to follow some type of agenda. Everybody wants to have something that somebody else has. Everybody is going to church and not getting any real blessings or anything to show proof in their life. Everybody's giving to the church, but the church ain't giving back to the community. That is nonsense. Every city that has a church in it should also have a house, a extra schoolhouse. They should have some kind of after school program, and they should have a large building in that city where people can go and buy and trade with each other. I don't care if it's like a flea market on the weekend or something, but every so-called black community should have these things where people can get money circulating within their community over and over again. The church can still prosper in that structured system, but the thing is, they don't want you to do that. You are just supposed to give to the church and not expect anything but faith and blessings that you're never getting really in return. And I'm sorry, if you can't see it now, when they say the Antichrist is coming, it just seems like we're not really fearing spiritually on that level that the Antichrist is coming, but other people are worried. Other so-called races are worried that the Antichrist is coming. Could that be because you are going to be bringing the spirit of the Antichrist, because we are going to figure out that Christ crucified is a stumbling block. And when Christ said that many people are going to come I believe in my name, which reminds me of people when they say in Jesus' name, when many people are going to come in my name saying that I am Christ, and they will deceive many. If you want to go ahead and look it up, I may not be saying it exactly what it is, but when something resonates with me, I grab it, and that's how I'm thinking. Unless somebody else can show me something else on a different level that can take that and turn that into, and a lot of people like to turn it into, oh, they're saying that somebody's going to come and say that they the Christ, but they're going to lie. No, to me, if I'm looking at it with my own eyes, with discernment, and with different knowledge from that book, that is telling me what other portions of the Bible is telling me. In the Old Testament, it said that a lady was going to have a baby and his name was going to be Emmanuel. Well, of course, people are going to say, oh, Emmanuel is just another name for Jesus. Is it? So why don't we just say that all the time? Why can't we say, thank you, Emmanuel? Why don't we say hallelujah? Why don't we say, oh, in Emmanuel's name? Why not? Okay, because if it was gonna be, and then later on it says that, Mary was gonna have, and I don't even know if it says that, but that Jesus was conceived, and it goes on and on. So what I'm saying is, I'm not trying to get you to see anything. I'm not bringing you into a different religious thing. If anything, I'm saying shed all of that outer. Go within. Ask yourself what you really think. Don't be afraid to be disowned and to be turned away, because this awakening, this thing that's going on, that's going to change things for the generations to come, to the people that are here to break these generational curses, there is a difference. You have to pull away from something old and look at it again. If you've been following it for hundreds of years and it ain't did nothing to benefit you, but everybody else can come up in this land and come up and everywhere else tell you who you is and who you ain't, and take what's yours and what's not, and you still sitting in the bottom. They done brought the Jews through the hood. So the fake Jews, they done brought with all the mobsters and the gangs and everything. They was doing the same thing that's going on in the so-called hood with black people today. But you know what? I think it was Reagan. No, not Reagan. Roosevelt. That said, hey, if the people is in here doing this crime, it's because it ain't no jobs. You get the people jobs, you get these things going, and they'll bring themselves out of it. So if that formula worked for those particular people, why can't it work for you? Because that was a long old time ago. So why can't it work for you? No, the thing is, they know it can work for you, but they don't want it for you. So they'll bring in the Asian next. He will get on top, climb on top of you, step all on top of your face, and take what he can take. There's rumors that China owns California already. Okay? So the thing that I'm saying is, they can come in, climb on top of you, build businesses in your community, and you go and shop at them, and they take the money from you and put it right back into theirs. Same thing with the Arabics. I'm not having nothing against these people. I don't discriminate when it comes to color, because I know that originally there was a darker viewed people that is the alpha and the omega of all of these races. You just get pushed aside. Latin, Afro-Americans, they get pushed aside and say that they came from Africa. The African, so-called African-American gets pushed to the side and say he came from Africa. The dialects or whatever they are over there in India, all these people in these places are probably more than likely, because they wouldn't have had the resources really back then to bring anybody anywhere in the 5 millions and 500 millions like they said they did. They said they killed 800 million American Indians and then brought over all these Africans during the same amount of time. Let's just keep it real. Let's just use common sense. Let's just go back to what we know, and let's just bring things back to basics. That's what I want to do with everybody. Bring it back to basics, because you got to bring it back to yourself. And a lot of people are not looking to examine themselves and re-examine what they think is their truth. So I'm sorry, I don't want to be like your mama. I'm not trying to do all this, but I just really want to just to get this off my soul. I really just need to get these up. I don't care if one person look at it. I don't care, whatever. But what I'm saying is, let's get back to the video. And it says 2020 census. You know, and that's what I'm saying about this census. We need to really sit down and have a conversation, a national conversation with so-called black people who are really the American Indians, and see, what are we going to do? Are we even taking this census? Are we going to be involved? It ain't none of your business. What happened when they took the census back in the day? All they did was twist the stuff up and make it look the way they wanted to make it look anyway. So what? Do we think if we do the census this time, that some kind of way something magical is going to happen and all of us are just going to be freed up or taken up to some different landmass or something? No. So do we even engage? I don't need to get, you ain't none of your business. You know what I'm saying? We need to know who we are, take that and go with it. And we need to communicate amongst ourselves and come up with something, because I'm going to tell you that some of these people is going with these big channels are going on talking about, oh, let's go back to Africa. Back to what? You ain't never been. Your great-great-grandma ain't never been. Matter of fact, she told you. When the book say, honor thy mother and father, she told you that you was from here. But you let school and everything, once you left her house and from her guidance and from her leading, you let school and everybody else tell you what's different. She tried to tell you what you can give your baby to make your baby feel better. But you chose to go to the doctor and take these shots from these foreigners and take all this medication from them. And now we got all these kids with all these problems. And that's the thing. Your old grandma don't know what she's talking about. That's the old way of doing things. When I wish, and I go back and I think about what me and my grandma talked about every single day of my life. Those are the two most important women in my life. So again, honor what they said. Do your due diligence. Take some of the stuff that these leaders that came and maybe been misleading, have been leading you astray in the beginning of their work, but they woke up at some point in time and they had to tell you something and it risked their lives. You were supposed to take that. You're supposed to take that, whatever. I'm thinking of like a relay race when you take the stick and you go keep running with it. But no, we let entertainment and all these other things get in the way of us seeing things on a different level. We let the I Have a Dream speech on Black Friday, not Black Friday, God, Black History Month be enough for us to know. I was 30 years old when I first heard the speeches, the different speeches of Martin Luther King, and the one where he said that we was already here before all this other stuff happened, before the Pilgrims, we was here. He was trying to tell you something. So at the end of the day, I'm not gonna crucify and let these people hang and not listen to nothing that they say. I'm not the integration thing or whatever, and the trying to be on the equal whatever with everybody else. You know, that was his thing. He thought he was doing what he was doing. He woke up just like me. I was listening to this. I was doing that. I was going here. I was running the streets. I was doing all this stuff. And then what happened? There was an awakening. Something happened to me. Okay? And it's funny how a lot of these people died in their 30s, because that's what I'm saying. The older you get, the wiser you get, the more information the more differently you look at things. And my awakening happened around that age too. So anyways, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not getting to the point. I'm not getting to the point here. Let me see how much time I got. Let's just play. Okay, now let's get into this for a second and then I'll stop the video. This is just my rant. I don't care if nobody listens to it. I just need to get this off my chest. So for those who don't know, I live in California and I have seen for the past 30 years how the Latino immigration has deeply affected Black people. Now, let's just stop right there because the first thing to do is to get all up in your feelings about something. But the thing is, you cannot blame any of these so-called races for doing what they're doing. Who you can blame is those at the top, those who are in these high places, like they speak of in the Bible. The principalities and the people in the high places. We'll just call them that. These people have always set this up this way. You must know your heritage. This is the reason why we are the only people in the world that can't trace our lineage back. They have taken and moved all of our stuff around. They want us to be African so bad. This is why. People think, why are you doing indigenous stuff, putting up posts every single day on your personal page? You won't see nothing about me. You're going to go back and find information for the past 4 years at least, straight of information, quotes, books, different things that you can look at and you can research and go do further research on. This is why we need to know who we are, to know where we are going. When you know who you are, we're not all going yet. With the abortion rate, the way they say it's going, it's horrible for us. When it comes to the so-called Black on Black crime, when we really know that it's our people have been placed in a certain place in society and it's been made hard for especially you. And these are things that are structured things that they know exactly what they're doing. Like I told you before, they knew what they were doing when it came to the other people, but they decided to give them a leg up. They decided yours will never come up. That's why they gave you a so-called African president, not an American, indigenous, aboriginal president. Do you see what I'm saying? So out of all the people that actually was from America and so-called have their grandmothers over here that were so-called enslaved, they could not find one Negro. Black person, African American. No, they found one that has an African father. That is of what we might say, it's not a fact, would be a Hamite. When I believe that the Negro in America, so-called Negro in America, is attached to the line of Shem. But who knows any of this? I'm just saying this is the way that it looks when I'm reading the things. And Japheth would be the European or the Eurasian or the Afro-Eurasian, because we know that we can stop playing and acting like Moors and so-called Northern African or African peoples were leading so-called Caucasians over here to this land and Spaniards and stuff. They had them on a boat with them. Of course, they had them talking about that they were going to mediate or whatever, or they were going to be translators, but they would have to have been already dealing with us and know our ins and outs in order to even be able to communicate with us. So, or either they were stealing our people from here, which they were stealing thousands of us from here and taking them over to Africa and Europe and everything. So if the oldest bones is here and the oldest pyramids is here, is there any way that they might just be misleading you by telling you that Africa was the origin of certain humanity, but it could be either all across the equator? If you put the land masses back together, if you go across the equator, it could be just those particular people that peopled the earth, or it could be the people over here that actually people, because that's what I'm saying. They tell everything in reverse. Just like they said 500 million Africans came over, or slaves were brought to America during the trade. But white people came here as Slav or Slavic people. They came here as slaves. They're so-called Caucasian people, and they were documented, and the numbers show that many people came here later on, maybe in the 1800s and stuff like that. But what I'm trying to tell you is, see, that's what I'm saying. So they want to just, they're not going to, they're just going to say that many slaves came here. They don't really go into depth about who they were. So later on, when they got the the correct ships and the things that they needed to be able to bring these people, which would be in the 1800s. That's when they actually brought all those slaves over here, or those indentured servants, or the criminals and the people that they brought over here to people this place. Um, who knows? They know, but they're not going to tell you. So, anyways, back to the subject at hand. For those who don't know about that, the past 30 years he's been doing videos and he's seen how the immigration. Okay, so that's what I wanted to get on. And in my neighborhood, my best friend, her name was Martha, and she lived right next door. And she was Mexican. And there were Mexicans, and we got along just decent. But the thing I noticed when I was at a young age is they had stores in the neighborhood, and we still didn't. So this thing, yes, I'm pretty sure it's a couple of you guys that are watching this video that can vouch for the fact that the same thing might have happened in your so-called neighborhood, okay, at some point in time. And you can't blame these people for doing this. This is, they are of their father, okay? You might be the mother, again, you might be the mother of this land or society, but the father is the one that is in charge, which is the patriarchal, structure that we have involved. That we have today. Put it like that. So, they help people to play. So what they're doing is giving your stuff to their children, just like the 1828 definition for America in the Webster's Dictionary. It now applies to their children. This is why everybody else can come here, including foreign, so-called British-speaking Black people and African so-called Black people come here, and they're able to also climb to the top. They're bringing them over in droves and giving them all these things to go get their doctorate and all this other stuff, and they'll never do that for you. Right? So then maybe it's time for us to separate and have our own then. Our real own. Like indigenous American Aborigine, the autochthonous ones. Maybe we should have our own. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, yes, this has been occurring. I'm pretty sure all of us can say so. So don't try to act like we didn't know it was happening. Come on. Don't act like we didn't know it was happening. Somebody wanted it to happen, or else they would have already thought about what they're going to do about the large numbers a long time ago. So, let's just keep it real here. It's to keep you away from what is yours.